This is ANN News Brief.
Although Kenya and Somalia are locked in a maritime boundary disagreement, the two countries have agreed to normalize relations. The decision came on Thursday after a meeting between leaders of both countries in Nairobi. Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Somali counterpart Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo spoke about the invaluable relations that exist between their two countries during a joint press conference after a closed-door meeting. Kenya's Foreign Affairs Chief Monica Juma posted a Twitter message that the two leaders had agreed to normalize their bilateral relations to ensure peaceful relations and free movement of their citizens. They also agreed on visas on arrival for their people. Somalia President Farmajo thanked Kenya for its role in AMISOM, the African Union peacekeeping mission fighting insurgent group Al-Shabaab, and for its role in sheltering Somali refugees fleeing conflict in Somalia. Farmajo said he is confident the International Court of Justice will deliver a mutually acceptable resolution to the maritime boundary disagreement between the two countries. The first Ebola vaccine was approved just this week, but aid group MSF has announced that health authorities in eastern Congo have introduced a new one produced by Johnson & Johnson. The group says this is meant to help combat the second worst outbreak of the virus on record. The new vaccine has passed clinical trials but has never been tested in a real-world setting. MSF says it will be administered to 50,000 persons in Goma, a city of 2 million residents on the Rwandan border. MSF says the introduction of a second vaccine is not meant to replace Merck's vaccine approved this week. Johnson & Johnson, which is leading the project for MSF, says its vaccine is meant to complement the one by Merck and to provide an additional tool in fight against future Ebola outbreaks. Some Congolese health officials have criticized the Johnson & Johnson vaccine on the grounds that it has not been properly tested, but it has passed the first two phases of clinical trials and has been endorsed by the World Health Organization. We'll be back after this message.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is sounding an alarm that terrorist groups are strengthening their foothold across Africa's Sahel region, where there is an uptick of violence. The UN chief said in a report to the UN Security Council on Wednesday that the expanding foothold is destabilizing large sections of the region and is fomenting ethnic violence, especially in Burkina Faso and Mali. Guterres said combating terrorism in the Sahel cannot be outsourced to the G5 Sahel force established by Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Chad, and Mauritania. He said terrorism is a global issue. He said the entire international community must contribute collective effort to tackle extremist violence in the Sahel. Guterres said the international community would also have to tackle other cross-border challenges like trafficking in persons, illicit goods, weapons and drugs, migration and displacement. The UN boss said these challenges in the Sahel are caused by poverty, marginalization, impunity, and weakened government presence. He said these are all compounded by the impact of climate change and the scarcity of natural resources. Guterres said he is encouraged by ECOWAS' $1 billion commitment and contribution from the European Union to fight terrorism and extremism over the next 5 years, and the U.S. provision of equipment and training to troops from Chad, Mauritania, and Niger. That is ANN News Brief at 10. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I'm Lucy Ademi.